Dear Elijah and Elena, the real reason, or so your father believes, which is me, the real reason for the political polarization that you will probably see in your time when you're young adults, and that we're even seeing now in 2021. We've been seeing for years, before even the current presidency and before even this next one we're about to go into, is, in Daddy's honest opinion, is because our country, maybe because of the education system, maybe just because of our culture and society, we're really not taught to engage one another in our differences when it comes to our beliefs. So let me say that again. The real reason for the polarization that we see when it comes to politics and religion and other social issues is because, and in my humble opinion, is because people are not taught to engage one another, and in a manner that is respectful and loving, even when they disagree. And as you get older, you will probably work at many different jobs where I hope, well, hopefully you don't have that many jobs, but you may work at some where they are told, they will tell you, uh, you can, converse with your coworkers almost about anything in a sense. But, obviously you can't harass people. You might see training videos, which is more popular nowadays. Training videos of being careful, of what you say, because you might hurt somebody's feelings, or may come across as prejudice or discrimination or something to that effect. And sometimes you will be told, we do not talk about politics and religion. One thing that your grandfather used to tell me when I was younger, um, because of his political views, which are not typically popular amongst a lot of people, but especially amongst African American people. So I won't speak too much about your grandfather's views, but my views, I'm an independent conservative, and conservatism is not a real popular thing amongst African American people, for a number of different reasons that I won't get to on here, because it'd take minutes and days and hours and all that kind of stuff to go into that topic. But it's not a popular thing, and so many times I would vote, my political views, which meant that I didn't vote the typical, I would say the stereotypical view. Uh, that knock at the door was you two, Elijah and Elena. One day you will see this video, and you hear many knocks and voices in the background, and there's many times you two interrupting me, which is okay, because I don't want to take most of my time doing videos and not engaging you two. So again, I was talking about, when it comes to working at different jobs, they'll tell you not to engage, or not to converse and debate about politics and religion. And my thing is that a part of that reason is because people just are not. We get so emotional. So instead of just saying, okay, why do you believe that? Okay, let's look at that. Let's try to find common ground on. And let's say you get to the point where you're saying, okay, the person has this viewpoint, they have this viewpoint. Let's try to see why they have that viewpoint. Okay. And then ask them questions. This is what I would do whenever I would ask. I would see how far I can go with somebody. I would ask them, something that I would try to draw, see if I could get an emotion out of them to a degree. So I might say, they would say, oh, okay, well, my religion is this, and I'd be like, oh, okay, well, yeah, I respect you telling me that. I really don't think that's, that's the truth, or and here's and whatever. And then I might, wait and see how they would respond. If I say, well, I think that's not the truth, or if it's a falsehood, or whatever. And if they kind of respond in some kind of emotional manner, body language kind of changed, facial expressions a little different, look like they might be getting angry, I knew to turn that off. And I would try to lovingly say, okay, well, I don't agree, but I don't want to go down a road that might hurt your feelings or might make you angry. Let's try to, keep it on a respectful path. But at the same time, if they're willing to engage me on, I might be wrong. Never know. So let's try to see if we can persuade one another with logic, and you try to be as objective as possible. Not everybody's going to be completely objective, but try to work toward that end and see if we're willing to be persuaded. In the age in which we live, both, I don't care if you're conservative, Elijah and Elena, or liberal, progressive when you all get older, or whatever, I hope you choose my faith, my religion, because I believe it's the truth, and I have reasons why I think there's good evidence why. You have to decide that for yourself. And so, if, like I said before, being willing to be persuaded, And many times people will say they'll have reasons for something that the reason is actually wouldn't hold water, right? So it's interesting that you'll hear people who are so-called scholars, lawyers, things of that such on popular media channels. Then you hear them lay out their evidence for why they believe in something or debate something, and it's like, that's interesting. Now you're a lawyer and you would use that as so-called evidence for why you hold a certain viewpoint. It's very, very strange. And whenever they're argued against or pushed back on their view, they get very emotional. And so it's very, very hard to engage people in the age in which we live because of the emotion that they have. Another thing besides the emotionalism that runs so deep and the lack of, trying to be objective about things, trying to build actual evidence for things, being willing to entertain people's views without getting so angry. Another thing is that we live in a time where people really don't do as much homework for themselves. So I had a good friend of mine actually do a post on social media post about this, where they were like, yeah, look, be willing to do your own homework. Don't just read a Facebook post. Don't just, I can't tell you, Elena and Elijah, I can't tell you how many times I've had people who I love dearly, who, and very close to me, who will send your father videos to watch. And the video would have, some information, and then that's supposed to be, oh man, that's really good information. So that must make my view true or right, because there's this video that kind of backs it. Or there's this social media post that says, it's like, yeah, that's right. Or there's, some type of meme or whatever that's, it's like right down the alley of what I believe. So that must make my viewpoint right. And that's the sad part about it, is that so many people do it. Some people will blast other folks on the opposite viewpoint of them for doing it, but then can't see that they're doing it themselves, whether it's on race, whether it's on religion, whether it's on gender, the gender issue that's going on, whether it's on, especially in politics, these conspiracy theories that abound, and people don't want to engage and see if there's actual evidence for what they're saying or if it's a falsehood. During the pandemic, this is hopefully by the time you all get older, things may be a little more normal and to some degree. People have these views on the coronavirus, and they think they know what they're talking about. Well, many folks don't know the science on it. Do you know the science on it? These folks are not, healthcare professionals. These folks are not scientists. These are not doctors. They're not even engaging in the virus themselves, but they think they know. They think they have the answer. Because they watched the video or they read one article. So anyway, my point being is that the older you all get, I wish I had the quote. It's a great quote, I think, I can't remember if it was like Aristotle or Socrates or some great writer, thinker, philosopher of old. It was basically like, says something to the effect of, and I might put this in the description for you too. It's just basically, Elena and Elijah, is basically just saying that, it's like something of a great mind to be able to entertain a thought without necessarily accepting it or believing it. And that's the thing about you two as you all get older. I want you all to be very, very careful of who you engage on different topics and different discussions, because like I said, sometimes people will disagree with you and they get very angry, and they might confront you or in a manner that is very dangerous. So you have to be careful about that. But I also want you two to be kind and try to, find loving ways to persuade people on different topics if you believe your view to be true, as much as possible. But also at the same time, being able to entertain thoughts without getting so emotional and riled up if they say something that you don't like or you don't agree with. And also remembering that you can't go around telling everybody your personal beliefs unless they're able to handle it in such a manner that it'll be loving and respectful and well received. Even if you had to say we just had to agree to disagree. But also remembering, if you ever get into leadership or like if you go into politics, you have to remember too that in order to keep the United States of America united, which I don't know if it's always going to be that way as the older you all get, from just what we're seeing now, you have to meet with people who disagree with you. You have to find common ground with people who disagree with you. But I'm afraid that we're living in a time, well, we're already living in a time where that's just not as common anymore. But at the same time, that doesn't mean that you don't have to. Thank you. So Elena and Elijah, as you all interrupt me again. something to think about when it comes to politics and religion. Be loving and respectful of others. Be willing to entertain their views, even if they disagree. You can't always say everything that you believe with other folks, but be patient and kind and understanding with others. And yeah, that's it. A lot of noise on this one because you two like to interrupt a lot. Something to think about.